Thank you, Lamia, or my beautiful mentee, for such a beautiful introduction to our team. I'm really delighted to be here with you today, and I'm glad that so many of you are here so early on Sunday morning, even though I guess you had a very hard Saturday night. But as Alan said, Koran Urani, ... probably had a good reason to be here. And our good reason for today is to have a very interesting topic that we are going to discuss with those beautiful ladies here, which is leadership. Even though not all of us have a professional leadership experience, I believe that all of us have some leadership experience being in leadership situations with our brothers, sisters, family members, or friends when we need to make some decisions to act something or so. But today we are going to experience or more dive into how is it to be a professional leader, to run a team of professionals and to work in a big company. So that's why I have with me those wonderful ladies. Or actually the fun fact is that 5 of us have around 100 years of experience altogether. So I was thinking to start just to say a few words of each of them, just to introduce you a little bit, who are you going to follow for this hour. I can maybe start with our youngest, Berina. She is actually our youngest sales director at EMEA region for recruitment group, or Viber, that you probably all use. After living abroad, she spent some years in Dubai, but she decided to move back to Sarajevo. She believes it takes persistence and hard work to achieve your goals. There are no shortcuts, no magic formula, but she needs to have a passion, that she has a hunger for improvement with a pinch of self-criticism. I can now introduce Gordana, the one living or coming from London. She's most influential, or one of the most influential female leaders with a successful 25 years career in tech and media. She was born in Sarajevo, and one of her biggest milestones is actually to come back to Sarajevo after 7 years. And you know how it is with diaspora. The first thing that she was doing went to Bashcharsia to have a cevapi. When she moved actually to London during the war, but before that she was studying at Electrotechnical University here in Sarajevo, which at that point of time was situated in Lukavica. And one fun fact is that she was kind of always late for her lectures, but I guess I'm very glad that she's on a time with us today. The next in the line is Ivana, coming from Mostar, but not having Mostar accent at all. She's very passionate and skilled HR manager that has transformed HR department at Ensoft for the last 10 years. She was the driving force for human resource development in Herzegovina and making it possible for Ensoft to always lead by example in the Herzegovina region. And one more Herzegovian here and one more British on the stage, Azra, our own new board member. She's always saying that she's having like 2 families, one British and one Bosnian. Also, as Gordana, she moved to England during the war, but decided afterwards to come back to Sarajevo and Dubrovnik. She's one of the most popular mentors in our foundation. is teach to give back to others, even if they are strangers. So, woman with a big heart and a huge career that you can definitely learn something from. So, I was thinking now that I have presented those smart, wonderful ladies that we can start to discuss the topic of today. And as I mentioned, almost all of us have been in a leadership situations. But I was thinking, like, to start with, how was your beginnings? Like, did you need to have a mentor or a support? Did you start it by yourself? How was it? Because you all have a great career. Maybe we can start with the youngest one, Berina. Always some technical problems.
Do you hear me? Okay. I hope you hear me. Nod if you can. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's really my pleasure to be here with you today and to share the stage with this remarkable woman. I'm really flattered, and also I'm really glad to see so many young people coming on Sunday morning. I think it's something, let's say, a new trend that it wasn't at my time, to be very honest. I'm very happy for it. So, what were my beginnings? My story is a little bit, let's say, unusual, I would say. So I will try to, in a short period of time, to explain you and share with you. So I finished my bachelor's and master's studies at Faculty of Economics here at University of Sarajevo. And my first job was, in IT company. So I studied macro-financial management. What that means? It means my major study was related to the monetary policy, fiscal policy, taxes, macroeconomics on country level, okay? And then I was hired and I pushed myself completely out of my comfort zone. So I was working as the only female in a, let's say, back then, male-dominated industry or team. I was the youngest one, and also I worked in a company who was, let's say, approaching Middle East market. And I didn't know anything about Arabic, maybe only words like Habibi or Salam Alaikum or something like this. So, but what was, let's say, beneficial for me, that the company back then, and I think they have also today, they have an onboarding program, and I was allocated a mentor. So I used and abused that mentor, 100%. But on top of that, I also took, let's say, I knew that I have to work twice harder because I was the youngest in the team and I didn't have any, let's say, background about IT. I didn't know the difference between, what is API, what is SSL, what is, let's say, SS7 protocol. I don't know if there is a student from, let's say, technological faculty, but for me, I never heard about this. So I used my mentor, but I also, because back then, that company is huge now, but back then it wasn't that big. So on the same floor, we had developers, legals, finance, sales, business development, in the same open space. So I took an opportunity to, each colleagues, especially the top performers, to actually, gain the knowledge from them. And I knew that I had to be extraordinary and to do that fast in order to make some kind of footprint in the company or just to, let's say, involve in my career path. So I'm not saying this, let's say, to brag. I'm saying this to give you, let's say, another perspective that even you are coming from, let's say, different background or you're feeling that you're behind, that you can accelerate that growth by having a proper mentor, or even if you don't have a mentor, that you can actually take from each of your colleague, each of your friend, the knowledge, the experience that they can, share with you. So in very short period of time, because of that maybe mindset, because of that mentorship program that is really important, I managed to become top performer. Even that I didn't have a chance to maybe go to the market, so as my other colleagues. So I had to work from Sarajevo office and to actually in clients, enterprise clients in Middle East markets. As a woman, as the youngest one, completely remotely. So the proper mindset, proper mentor, and your willingness to learn and your willingness to find a mentor in every person that is surrounding you is the key, let's say, key factor for success. I hope I didn't take too much time.
No, definitely not. Saying so many interesting and learning things for each of us. But I was thinking, what about you, Gordana? How was your experience in the beginning? And
is this working? Yeah, great. Well, similar probably to Berina's. I was, it's interestingly, when I came to London, obviously, as an engineer with my engineering background, we actually talked about this yesterday in a workshop. I was this kid who joined this advertising and media community with my engineering background, coming from Sarajevo, in very quintessentially English industry. Loads of public school boys, and I didn't really fit the bill, right? I was one who had this funny accent. I had a probably very challenging point of view on everything that, I always had a point of view, I always had something to say. So my way of engaging with people is not finding really one mentor, but finding like-minded people, right? And I very early realized that the power of network is going to be something that I really want to invest, and finding the connection in my industry that of the people, of the men and women that are going to carry me along my career, right? So they became my mentor, they became my sponsor, they became my go-to people to help me when I needed support, but also people that I spend a lot of time helping as well. So in a nutshell, I think the mentorship, I also have a master's from Oxford Brookes in coaching and mentoring, which I kind of did very later in my career, thinking if I wanted to give something back, there was one way of me giving back something, especially with my passion to female leaders and young girls in the industry. So I did that to be able to give something back. So yeah, so I have lots of mentors, but I'm also mentor to many young women and men in the industry.
Very interesting. And now I'm interested to hear more about our famed mentor, Azra. You have been mentored now for years for a foundation, and how was your beginning? Did you have a mentor at that point of time?
Okay, you can hear me, right? There was a competition, a student competition back in the 90s, asking us to write like a student perspective of the East and West. I was studying in Liverpool at the time, and I actually won that international competition, and the title of it was Eternal Other. So Eternal Other meaning my best friend was from Japan, and to her I was West. And to my friends in Liverpool, I was the East. And to me, at the very early stage, I kind of learned in terms of who I can aspire to be is a person that I can learn something from, regardless of the East or the West perspective as such. So I came to England in a highly stressful situation. I was taken in by a British family. I didn't know where my own family was. So I was very pressured to do well because I was taken in by a family that didn't know that I could apply for a refugee status. I had a student status. I had to get good grades. So I looked up and aspired towards my lecturers and towards people who succeeded. And I was very lucky to have both male and female role models in that respect throughout my education. But from the very start of my arrival, I had to learn to work. So I worked in, gardening, in a pub. I babysat. I worked on a construction site, and wherever I worked, in carpet shop as well. Let me not forget. But wherever I worked, I found role models and amazing, simple, common people doing amazing things that I could learn something from. So I kind of learned not to have one particular person I aspire to, but different role models in different aspects of life as well. But one person that really stands out is Sally Boyd. She's like my guardian angel. She's the daughter of the family that took me in. She was a manager at the college which I attended when I arrived. And she always had a dream to start off a wine bar. And she created that dream, and then the wine bar won all the awards, like for the last 15 years that she's been running it. And I learned from her that when you do something that you love, you do it with passion and flair, and people catch on. So it's really important, really not to force things on oneself, but go with the flow and see opportunities where you least see them. Sometimes things that you think are bad for you, actually with hindsight you realize that you've learned probably more than the things that went really smoothly. So in a nutshell, my beginnings and my mentorships is really the survival, first of all, and looking up to those that I can learn from and learn various skills, because you never know when they may come in useful.
It reminds me about my own experience being new in Norway and not knowing anything, not knowing anyone, not knowing the system, but learning by failing and learning by doing some good things after all. But what about you, Ivana? Did you had any good mentors like all other ladies here, or?
Oh, it's a bit a different story, but just for the start, I would like to say that those ladies gave me a first task to bring a son to Sarajevo, and I think I brought that son from Mostar, so good morning to everyone. It wasn't so sunny in the Mostar when I was at my beginning, so at that time, Ensot was a startup company. And the owner thought that it is time to have someone to take care of a people. And he didn't know what that means, but he just know that he needs someone. And then when I got the job, I also didn't know what that means. So it was a bit messed up situation. I didn't have a mentor per se. I didn't have someone to walk me through the processes, to have guidance or something like that. But I made a lot of mistakes, and I will share with you my first one. It was my second day at work when I sent an email to an owner and a CEO at that time. I wrote, can I buy 50 cactuses for every employee in the company? Because I read somewhere that cactuses can absorb negative radiation from monitors, clean air, or something like that. I don't even know today, is that true? But I sent it. And owner reply, is she serious? Is she really asking these questions? And then the CEO said, I think she is. And then, okay, owner said, let her do whatever she wants to do. And that moment, I don't know, maybe they tested me, maybe I tested them, but it was, now I know it was a mistake, because any of those cactuses didn't survive a month. And I learned from that.
But you survived 10 years in Ensoft.
And I survived for 10 years, yes. And I was lucky enough to grow in with the company. And I was a one-man show at that time. And that experience learned me that they put a trust in me. And that was something that was supportive. That was supportive environment. They know I will make mistakes, but they let me. So I learned from that mistakes on my own skin, and I took a responsibility on myself to to share and to tell people that you can have on that way career in Ensoft, you can have it in Mostar, and you can have it in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
How would you say actually that affected your leadership style? For me, it seems like it's coming from your personality. Could you elaborate on that one?
It is a matter of personality, but it is a learning curve. When you figure it out, that mistake, and you analyze it. And then I figured out that I needed to listen people. And now I learn how to speak with people and listen to them and get their feedback on things. And then you will have, I think you will have much more mistakes if you don't do that this way. So I have my own struggles with trust. That was my issue with the team and everything, because sometimes think that you are the only one that can do that job, and your way is the only way. So when I was lucky enough to have a team 10 years ago, now I have a team of 10 experts actually, and they have my trust, and that's something that you learn to give, and you struggle with that, but they deserve it to find their own path, their own way of doing things. And you gave them time, you gave them mentorship, but you let them to have their own stories, their own mistakes, and to learn something from them.
Now I was thinking to hear more from Gordana, how actually your style fits with your personality, and does it have something to do with because you're working in London, is it like different for you? Can you express your Bosnian personality in there?
No, absolutely. I use every opportunity to use what we are made of. Right? And I think we spoke again yesterday to that workshop. I really genuinely believe in developing. In order to become a great and successful leader, you need to develop your own. What's your story? What's your brand? What do you stand for? And I always go back to that point. What's your authentic version of yourself? And that's really important. You need to find that small USP, something about you that you stand out, that you can at any point in time throughout your career recite back and say, I'm this person, I'm very proud to be Bosnian, I'm very proud to be from Sarajevo, I come from the multicultural society, I'm very adaptable, I'm very flexible, I learn how to listen to other people's point of view, and I'm very opinionated and I'm very passionate about these things. And then on the top of that, the cherry on the cake is finding, but then yes, of course, you need to be great in your craft and what you do, right? So if you're an engineer, be a great engineer. If you're in a communication marketing, be a great marketeer. But then I always felt like, but you need to add that sort of sparkle, these disco hands that I have here. It's what's your sparkle, that magic powder that you put when you present, when you join the meetings, when you are kind of at the top of your game and when you lead a team. For me I very early decided, because my career in advertising and communication it wasn't easy, right? Because as I said, there were only a few women on the top. And I'm, by the way, delighted to see so many young women in the STEM. I remember when I was studying in electrotechnical university in Lukovca, I think there was 20 of us at a year. So I can see that, you know, there's more women joining the tech industry and engineering, so that's great. But mine was, fine, I need to be great in my job, but I also wanted to have that sort of side hustle, side passion that I can make a difference. And for me is helping and empowering young women in my industry, in any industry, as a matter of fact. So that's why I think, going back to that, I think the executive summary of what I wanted to say is like, find your USP, find that magic dust.
Very interesting. I was thinking now to give a question to Marina, because she's the one working now in a globally company and has some experience from Dubai. And I'm like interested, how does those cultural differences impact your leadership experience? And do you have something interesting you want to share with us regarding that?
Well, again, this one? Okay. So I was raised to have opinion, to speak up, and during also my education, especially in high school, it was encouraged to continue that trend. But, and in general, leadership is well-known concept, is accepted in every country in worldwide. But what is, let's say, perceived as a leader, what kind of communication style, what kind of, let's say, option, decision-making process, you know, it really sometimes completely different from country to country, or even sometimes from region to region. So if you're working with, let's say, if you're working in international company, or if you have, let's say, a boss, a line manager who is not coming from your same country or same region, or even if you want just to work with clients who are not, you know, from the same country, on what is mostly important, if you're managing a team that are not coming from CE, Adriatic, ex-Yugoslavia, whatever, how you want to call it, you have to be very cautious, and you have to actually make sure that you're not offending anybody. Because for us, maybe, you know, a leader is someone who is confident, who is outspoken, who is, you know, fast in making decisions, you know. But in other country, that kind of leader is not a good one. And, you know, you will have a team who is rebelling, who is not accepting your way of even giving a feedback, you know. And on top of that, currently I'm working in Japanese-owned company, and that was additional, let's say, experience for me, especially coming from Bosnia with the Balkan mentality as a woman, and working with the MENA clients, and now I have Japanese stakeholders. And that was, to be very frank, for me, a learning curve, as Ivana mentioned. And I really need to make sure that, you know, I respect them and I use proper, you know, communication styles in order to achieve the same goal. On top of that, I'm managing a team who is spread around the world. So to go back, let's say, to the leadership style, I don't have one. And actually, I switch like a chameleon. One leadership style to another, depending with who I'm talking with. I have Mark, who is based in Manila, Philippines. And I have, let's say, Dino, who is working in Sarajevo. And I have Oksana, who is Russian, working in Middle East, and many more. So, you know, when speaking with each one of them, the way they expect, you know, from me to lead them, or to just to one, for me, leaders, even it's very strong word, you're actually the servant to your team. So whatever they need, you have to provide. If they need, let's say, direct feedback, you will give direct feedback. But if they're not common to direct communication style, or they don't want, they're expected, let's say, that you make all the decision as a team, you have to provide that. So to make my story short, it's challenging, but also very rewarding experience, because you're actually taking from each of the culture what is very interesting, and you actually try to, at least this is what I'm doing, I'm trying to implement all the good practices in my own personal life as well.
I'm also one having a multicultural leadership experience, and when you know, you always need to target your message towards like someone who's coming from different culture or different gender or something, but diversity is always being one of the strongest assets that a company can have. But I have never like experienced how is it to be a leader in Bosnia. Azra, could you like elaborate on that one?
I would say probably in general, like everywhere else. I would also say the times are different, and I'll reflect back when I worked in London back in the 90s, at the turn of the century, would you believe, 2000 to 2003. There were many things in the workplace from my leaders that were, jokes that were genuinely funny, that would in no way be politically correct nowadays in London today. So in Bosnia, we're just a little bit, like 10 years behind in terms of what's politically correct or not. So again, depends where you work or which industry or the generations that you work with. And I've been very lucky to work with younger generation, and I've been lucky to be able to lead younger generations. Because of my background, we're all labeled by our backgrounds or experiences that we've experienced along the way on our career paths and in our lives. So I would say I'm a passionate leader, and I still really need to work on my patience. So because in a way, perhaps because of my own experience, it's very difficult for me to take no for an answer, or that something's impossible to be done. And I'm always trying I'm racing with the time, because there's so many things I think can be done. And, we live now, and, you cannot turn this moment back. So I try to cram lots of things in as a leader as well. And I actually have been very lucky in a company that was bought by HTech Group to have been surrounded by an absolute top team that I would select to work with in any company, in any setting. It's very interesting to hear Berina's experience of international teams. So I've only worked with international teams back in London, but again, I remember the finesses and the humor and the motivation. At the end of the day, when you work with someone for a period of time, and you've done things like FLS, for example, the team that organized this will be a strong team. I'm very impressed by the volunteering work that this has been done by. So basically, I would just to sum up in a way of leadership. One of the books that really impressed me was the No Rules. Erin Mayer, I appreciate as somebody that is a specialist in communication across cultures. And, as a leader, I try to form good teams rather than family. Family is there for you whatever you do in a way. But the teams are there to perform strong and to have a strong connection. But like in any team, you take a football team, the best players don't play all the time. So in a way, in a workplace, I would love to work with a diverse team that is not always 100%, because we as humans are not always at the top of our performance, but be able to have that trust among the team that they have we have the joint goal and we're striving to complete that goal, but have that trust and comfort to actually be able to express when we're not feeling okay, or when we feel in any way that we underperform, we need help. So as a leader, I would say I try to make sure that the team is comfortable to say if they're not okay or if they cannot deliver something, and I will do everything, or the team then picks up the pieces when necessary. So the trust and the high performance, but not individual, but the team.
I was thinking, going forward, it's not hard to notice that we are all women here on the stage. And I was thinking, did any of you had any challenges during your leadership experience so far? Maybe London-based, Gordana? If you want to share something with us, if you had any,
with the challenges.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the female leadership?
Female, yeah. Did you experience like something like I can say I have with?
What's your perspective on that?
But I just remember when I started, I was always like joking with my friends, so coming over to have a presentation, say, oh, little Alma, what are you going to present us today? That was how I perceived the publicum sitting there, because I was working in corporate companies, and those are all men, 50 plus guys clubs sitting there, and then me being very young coming over to tell something, or what are we going to do? Like talking about the strategy, our way forward, and I'm like the youngest woman sitting in the front of those guys. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I totally sympathize with that, and I think that's my experiences were very similar to yours. But look, I have a very particular experience, perspective on all of this. I know as a female leader, we always talk about that there is a glass ceiling. Sometimes you can't even see the glass ceiling, right? There is a fog and then there is a ceiling, right? So that's how tough sometimes it can be to make it to leadership position as a female. Now, I mean, recent statistics are not really encouraging when it comes to gender diversity and inclusion. I mean, according to latest UN report, there is a 300 years gender gap between men and women to close when it comes to education, pay gap, and etc. In UK alone, there is a 20% pay gap between men and female. We are talking about a pretty advanced society which on a daily basis discuss this sort of things in the public and in the companies, etc. So the road ahead is challenging. There is so much to be done, but I think, as I said, having all these fantastic, young women studying here, you are the future leaders of these companies. The ownership is on you to change this story. And I always say it starts with yourself, with you as a person, that I decided very early in my career to challenge that perspective. You know, Gordana from Sarajevo with this weird accent. I'm actually Gordana, yes, very powerful, very opinionated Balkan woman who has a point of view, and I'm going to use that as my superpower. That actually became my superpower. And because of that, I have become a leader that I am, right? So I think it's how you change this. So we shouldn't be feeling sorry for ourselves, never. So that's our superpower. Our power is that we build the brands, that we are resilient. And I think it's actually the story of resilience, right? So the challenges then become the resilience becomes a superpower, right? So I think that's the way how we need to think about this. And always, always, always think about what you can do. Eddie was talking about that yesterday in his opening speech, and it resonates so much with me because it is giving something back. What's your authentic version of yourself, where you can add the value, what you can do for the others. And I think that's the only way as an individuals that we can give back. You talked about the corporate support for and etc. Absolutely, I believe in that. But I think, for me, I always work for the companies. I work for one of the biggest communication groups. I work for the LinkedIn in the last couple of years. But look, I'm going to be very honest for me. These are shells for me, right? These were the places I work. These are the companies that obviously I gave a lot of my intellectual property back. But I always felt they can help me, but I think I can't rely on this corporation to help me or the people that I work with or my teams or individuals within my team. So I took it as my personal challenge to support and help, empower, and give something back. And I think that's the mindset that helps.
Yeah, so we're actually good to make those challenges into opportunities or our strengths. One of my differences where I'm so happy that I have so easy name, but my last name is so very young, so very long. And the good thing with that is that everyone remembers it. And I was like, oh, once Alma, always Alma. So they can't what was it? So yeah, I was using that as my power. But I was interesting, what about you, Ivana? What do you think? How are we good to make challenges into opportunities? Do you have any experience with that?
Yes, I will just say that what Gordon has said, not kind of a superpower, but I think challenges are just a point of view. So we can call it problems, we can call it challenges, but it's a time or situation, it's difficult and you know what to do. So it's your choosing if you are wanting to accept that as a step back or if you turn it into opportunity. So it's about your habits, your personality, and your own point of view. I think in our company now, we're having 350 employees. We take every opportunity to get there, from startup to now. And I think we are experts in turning challenges to opportunities. And I will just give a few examples of that. It was a time that we have a lot of questions without answers in a hardware part of our company. And then we figured out that we will invite retired engineers that are living in our town to share their knowledge, to share their expertise with our engineers and to transfer their knowledge. It's some kind of a mentorship that was priceless for us, and it was idea or opportunity that we create for ourselves. And when you get that, you always think how to return that in some way, how can you circle it back. And then idea of having juniors academy within the company where you learn employees' children robotics programming or engineering. It's something that we also cherish in that way, and you have all aspects of things that you can actually appreciate a mentorship and turning opportunities, growing growing opportunities also. So I think it's some way of putting all together and create your environment in which you can enjoy.
Speaking about the challenges, one of them is maybe to having a balance between life and work. Like I know in my company, we are really working so much hard with that one, especially after Corona. So the opportunity for me is that I can spend much more time in Sarajevo and living my lifestyle because I don't need to be at the office all the time. I know, Berina, you are traveling a lot as well. How is that for you? Do your company work so much on that one? Or is it that you guys really need to be at the office? How is it like that Japanese culture that you are dealing with every day?
Well, because I decided to live and work in Sarajevo, I'm fully remotely, meaning that I work from my apartment. So it has benefits, but also has challenges. In general, that work-life balance is something that I will be very, very honest, I'm still struggling to find a balance. I truly believe that you can have it all, but not at the same time. So it's about timing. So it's about timing, which, let's say, part of your aspirations, goals, dreams, you're going to focus on that specific time. And when I say time, sometimes it's within a day, same day, you make priorities and you make compromise and you make sacrifice. Sometimes it's based on, on a month, on a year, and etc., depending how big a planner you are and how well you're organized. So I'm very ambitious. I'm very self-critical, which is additional, let's say, layer of complexity in this work-life balance that we all, let's say...
I think that's very typical for Bosnians, being self-critical.
So, I'm trying to avoid the burnout and also to have normal private life because I'm married. So what I want to say, like, I don't have a magic formula. I believe that you can have it all, but not at the same time. And you need to have a partner who is very, very supportive, understanding, and luckily I have one. So all these trips that I'm doing, and I'm doing a lot of them. We actually had all hands this week where we analyze all our results, and we have 54 events this year only. So I attended in person probably 34 of them. So it's a lot of, let's say, I have always one of the suitcase ready, you know. So that's in a nutshell.
I see we are a little bit running off the time, and we would like really to have a time for questions from the audience as well. I would like to ask you, do you have any good advice for the people that we have in the audience here? Because I think the BHFF is a great initiative to empower and educate young both women and men to leadership roles, and that's one of the reasons that I joined this organization. So do you have any advice for people sitting in here today? So we can maybe start with Gordana. Do you have a mic? Oh.
I'm gonna, again, and it's an executive talk in executive language, I'm gonna give you 3 top tips that I've kind of summarized throughout this.
Three, right?
I love it. It's always thinking threes. First one being is, you have to remember that, again, the lesson that we all learned, that your leadership and career is going to be very non-linear journey, right? You're gonna have many ups and downs. And I think the understanding that you're gonna have good and bad times, but the key to success will be how you ride those bad waves, right? And delivering that resilience. This is closely linked to number 2, which is on those bad days, especially your network. Again, something that Eddie was talking about yesterday. Make sure that throughout your career and journey, you create a strong network of men and women that's going to carry you through these times. They're going to inspire you. They're going to be your support. They're going to be your inspiration. They're going to be your competition. So, extremely important. I learned that in a best possible way, that your network is your best bet really to succeed in your career. And again, connected thing, again, we learn how to become a good leaders. We learn how to involve in our career. One thing that I learned is, probably as I'm getting older, is to be to learn to stop and listen, to be a bit more empathetic in my leadership style, right? Because in that race to succeed, to achieve life balance, to cater to everything that we have to do, sometimes you can forgive yourself and, not really listen and observe, especially when you're leading a team, because you have targets, you have a forecast, you have an objectives, you have many, many things you tick the box. Empathy and kindness is gonna give you always very, very good ROI, talking about ROI. So make sure that you stop and think, be kind, be empathetic. And somebody said, be kind and empathetic on your journey up. You don't know who you're gonna meet on your way down. And I'm not saying that's, but if that path, that non-linear path ever takes you down, you don't want to be the one that people come back to and say, well, I remember the time when you did X, Y, and Z, right? So have that on the back of your mind.
Azra, I see you're the one having a mic. Do you have any good advice for our publicum today? Oh, it wasn't working.
I think, remember what Gordana said? I think that the 3 really important things I always say, if there's a straight line, normally your heart has stopped. So there's no straight lines, there's ups and downs. So you'll have opportunities to be a leader and to be led. And they're all good. So surround yourself by a good network, but also even individual contributors can lead, but individual contributors, let's say in sports, Novak Djokovic is a superstar, and he performs so well, but his network is really strong. His support network is really strong as well. So we mustn't forget that to be at the top, we also need to be and surround ourselves with kind, empathetic, strong performers. So that would be a very short message.
Ivana?
Okay, I have two things, not three.
Mostar Sunshine.
It's allowed yourself to make mistakes. I think that's something that I learned on a harder way. So that would be the first thing. That will be the lessons that are most valuable for every of us. And the second thing is, I think you need to work as you work for yourself. Imagine that it is your company, that you are owner, even though you are just a small part of any organization or a company or a regular employee or someone else. You need to give 100% of yourself. And when you are struggling with thoughts, what to do, or it's difficult times and everything, just trust your gut and do what you think that you would do, that you are a CEO of a company. And then you can think of, why would I do that? It's not my company, but it's skills, it's experience, and it's a knowledge of that experience that you are taking with you. And maybe when you are at, I don't know, 10 years after, you will have your own company. So pretend now to have it. Do like you have it, and maybe one day you will actually have it. So that's it.
And Verena?
Okay. So very short, or maybe not. You never know with me. So first of all, I would say go out of your comfort zone. If you are like cozy and you feel everything is great and you know everybody in the company and you're very good, you receive, appraisals and top performer bonus achievement, something is wrong. You need to change, change it, especially if you're young and you don't have, let's say some credit loans and, financial responsibility. It's easier for you to take another risk, even if you fail, so what? You can always go back or another let's say, company to choose. Second, it's try to, if you're not already doing it, try to somehow dive a little bit or based on your preferences in psychology. It will help you to first understand yourself and also to understand your emotions, your triggers, but also to understand people around you, how they behave in the way they behave. From very, simple, basic stuff like, body language to emotional intelligence, it will help you enormously. And for me, I think that was the most valuable lessons when I first understand myself, my emotions, why I reacted the way I reacted, and how other people, the body language is the best way how you can, just realize if somebody, what is going on, if that something is wrong. And third one, I would say that, I'm not sure how you're going to perceive this or, in which way. I will leave this to you. But I would say that you have to choose good in which company you're going to start your career. That's really, really important. Not just because of the industry or whatever, it's because you are surrounded by people in that company, the mindset, the company culture, that will actually, grow you, to actually grow your mindset in the right or the wrong direction. That's all from my side.
Maybe not all, because now we are going to be a little bit interactive. So, I'm like so blessed from this Mostar, and I can't see anything, but I see some hands in the...
4.
Okay, can someone help us? Yeah?
Can you hear me out? Hi, thank you for this panel.
Oh, thank you.
It was,
This
it
is
was
much
wonderful.
better.
Yeah. So, as a girl, I want to hear your opinion about something. It's maybe an advice. How to find, like, as a leader, as a female leader, how to find a balance between being really friendly and open to your team and also being taken seriously and not being taken for granted. I just want to see if you have any advices, like, for us.
Who wants to, Azra?
Thank you for your question. I would say don't be afraid to let go of people who don't perform and setting an example in that sense, not to strengthen your own place as a leader, but really, showing by doing things and also being somebody who is the first person to do something. So, people appreciate leaders who understand what the team is going through. So understand the difficulties and challenges. And sometimes that challenge could be somebody who's not up to speed or consistently. Unfortunately, sometimes it has to come to that. The team or the people that you lead do take you for granted in a sense that you take them in the long run because you can spot an underperformer, for example. So this is like one example of making times tough decisions. Other times as well being I'm allowed to use the word like tampon zone. So you stand up for your team, and I believe women are more. I work in 70-30 male-female divide, which is actually quite good for in general. And I see good and bad in both sexes. So in the company, we have quite a few female leaders who actually stand out as a good example. And as that, I hope, provide a role model to all our all of you out there and all our other male team members, company-wide scale. Now in an organization of 2,000 people, I think we need to lead by example. So that sometimes tough decisions maybe, the best.
More?
Okay, I will go. Firstly, thank you very much for this amazing panel. I really enjoyed it. And I'm really happy to see you all here, to see amazing women that are successful. It really motivates me as well. And I hope that I one day be able to be on your place. Okay, so one of the challenges that I had personally, for example, because I'm working as well as team lead in a small team, so nothing too serious, but let's say is to recognize moments when your ego is talking instead of you, and how to improve self-management. If you have maybe some advices of books or something, some recommendations for us to actually work on ourselves and be better leaders in future. Thank you.
Okay, I have the mic, so I will do it. So I believe in gut and making decision, but what I believe more is the data. So every decision I make, I usually double check if the data is telling me the same. So that's why I keep my ego, my prejudice, my maybe lack of time, lack of, maybe sympathy towards a specific team member or a specific team comes into my judgment making the final decision. And I really believe in data. fully into numbers, like every possible, for example, I work in sales and I'm leading a sales team worldwide. So I check every possible, let's say, conversion rate, every possible numbers that I can get from the either CRM system. Why? Because sometimes some of your team members are more vocal, some of them are maybe introvert, so they will not push, you know, all the results they are doing or all the project they are doing, all the feedback to you. So I think that's the main, let's say, advice for you, to keep your ego in general, to make the right decision, or at least to have some kind of, let's say, explanation maybe to your management, or if you made a mistake that, you know, you double check and these are the trends, these are the data are leading to this decision. Related to the literature, I mean, again, as I mentioned, everything related to the emotional intelligence, everything related to the psychology, I think it will be very, very beneficial, depending in which, let's say, stage of self-awareness you are at the moment. But I'm sure that you are at very high level based on your question and based on your thinking. So I will be more than glad to send you a list of my current to-do, let's say, open books for this year or the next year. So if you're interested, of course. Thank you.
I'm going to say something slightly controversial to Verina's point of view. Look, I believe in the business of art and science, right? Meaning that absolutely data is your guiding light, but I think you need to trust yourself as well. More senior you become, you will be through the situation that's going to form you as a leader. You're going to get more experience under your belt. You'll be able to judge right and wrong. Data is there to guide you, but I don't think it's the final answer. There is a heart and there is a data, so art and science is a very fine act that you need to balance throughout your career. And I genuinely think that what I then try to do is like, I'll have a data set, but my heart is telling me this, right? Your instinct, your gut is gonna kick in. And I think women are particularly good at that. We have this sort of very high EQ when it comes to really be able to resonate, connect with people and etc. Use that again as your superpower, trust your instinct. But I would say above all, I always try to remind myself, be fair. Fairness is one of my key guiding lights when I make a decision. Make sure that I do it right? That I done everything due diligence to make sure decisions that I make are based on data, art and science, but most of all that I'm actually fair in my decision making. And you know what? A healthy dose of ego for a woman, it's actually a really good thing. So don't lose that.
I see Amar is almost on the stage. It's not easy to control so many women Bosnian women at the stage here. Amar, you can take over probably.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry that I had to interrupt you, but we are out of time. Thank you all for the awesome discussion, an awesome panel. Now we have a short break. It's a half-hour break. So we are back here at 11:40. During that break, we have an exciting booth activity hosted by BH Futures Foundation, Innovating for a Brighter Tomorrow. This innovative plays a pivotal role in fostering innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship within Bosnia and Herzegovina. Explore the booth to learn about Innovation Nation program, which acts as a catalyst for aspiring innovators to collaborate, share ideas, and develop solutions for societal changes. The booth activity is in the BHFF corner, so please visit it. Thank you. Thank you so much.